Alright, so let's go over some of the Nidalee changes that are happening in the near future. They should be live on the PvE soon, so we'll see. But let's just talk about some of these changes and how they're going to impact her playstyle and how she should be played, how she's going to feel, and stuff like that. So first off, let's talk about her passive. Her passive is being shifted from a 15% movement speed increase in brushes to a 10% movement speed increase. It's going to be a slight nerf. You're going to notice her feeling a little bit more sluggish and you're going to have a little bit harder time escaping through brushes. It's not going to be a huge difference. It's going to be about 20 movement speed, which is almost a tier 1 boot, so it is noticeable, but it shouldn't be impacting you a huge amount. They're not removing her pounce or anything, so you should still have the ability to escape over walls. Another difference though they have changed is they're making it easier for her to engage on champions, which I find very nice. It's not going to be, again, it's not going to be a huge impact, but it is going to help. It's going to be increased to an X% towards visible enemy champions, so I'm guessing this will be like 20% or 25%. It's going to be very similar to Vayne's pursuit mechanic, or what's that called? Let's look her up. Vayne. Look her up. What is this thing called? Night Hunter. So it's very similar to Vayne's Night Hunter. Gaining 30 movement speed when moving towards a visible enemy champion. That's going to be about 15%. But this is only when we're going through brushes or when someone's on hunt, so I'm guessing this will be actually a little bit higher. So I'm guessing Nidalee is going to be something like 20 or 25%. It'll be a good change because it allows her to engage easily when she lands a couple of skills, and it allows her to have a more flowing combo as opposed to requiring a flash pounce on top of a spear, which is a very long cooldown combo, 300 seconds. So I like that change. It gives her a bit more fluidity in her kit. She's able to synergize her human form and her cougar form much more easily. And the reason I say that is because hitting a javelin toss or a bushwhack gives you this benefit towards an opponent, so you're able to actually have this % bonus towards your opponent, which gives you a little bit more of a chance of engaging and getting some extra damage off. This isn't really going to make or break the new Nidalee or the old Nidalee or anything like this. This is just a quality of life change to synergize with her new kit a little bit more. So these two aren't important. How big is %X? And like they're not that big a deal. But let's talk about the changes to Takedown first. Takedown, it's being changed to a, let's go down here. It's being changed to a magic damage ability, which is actually going to help AP or AD Nidalee. It's harder to itemize against magic damage, and it's also going to give AD Nidalee harass in AD and burst in AP form. So she's able to either burst the opponent or harass them, and they're two different forms of damage, so they have to choose to itemize against harass or to itemize against her burst, and they can't really pick either one unless they're really far ahead. So I think it's a good thing for AD Nidalee, and for AP Nidalee, giving it an AP ratio, her cougar form becomes even more integral to her kit. She has most of her burst damage probably is going to be shifted to her cougar form. Takedown is going to most likely be a very big part of her damage now. As opposed to Nidalee, it was a finishing move for AP Nidalee, but it wasn't really a big damage source. Now it's probably going to be integral for her killing people. Pounce is being changed significantly. I'm not sure if the pounce can be, if she can pounce the targets at increased range if they're not activated by the hunt debuff. But the hunt debuff, what happens is if you land a spear or you get a bushwhack on them, they have a debuff on them called hunt, and every single one of her cougar form skills, the first time you use any of them, they have a slight bonus to them. So takedown does more damage. Pounce has, I think, twice the distance you pounce is what it says, and swipe has an increased, or it resets the cooldown of pounce. So it's kind of cool. Pounce is going to be a bit more useful for gap closing and finishing off combos. So Nidalee right now is just spear and run away, and then the new Nidalee is going to be spear into pounce into swipe takedown for a full combo, which is probably going to do more damage than the old Nidalee, but it's also going to have more risk. So it's a bit of a difference there. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. They're going to be nerfing Nidalee's siege potential heavily, which I don't think they're aware of. And her team fighting potential is not very good because she's very, very squishy and doesn't have the ability to instigate people. So we'll have to see where it goes from there. She's not going to be great in team fights. Like, she wasn't amazing before, but she at least had the ability to siege and poke from the side. With the changes to her spear, they're nerfing that a little bit, or maybe a lot of it, they haven't said. But they're nerfing that, clearly, so she's not going to be able to sit on the sidelines and have as big of an impact with just her spear, which is going to make it easier for people to counter siege her and survive her siege, which is going to be less frustrating to play against. And her spear is probably still going to have a big impact, but it's not going to force you to go back to base immediately upon eating one, or immediately die after eating one. So we'll see. I think Nidalee's spear is going to suffer. She's going to have less of a sniper feel to her, but as a trade-off, she's going to feel more like a hunter, which is what I like. I like that change. So Bushwhack's change. Well, actually, let's look at the Javelin Toss change. Javelin Toss, it currently is a flat cooldown reduction. Let's look at Nidalee's stats right now so I can prove stuff to you. Nidalee. So currently it's a flat cooldown, 6 seconds. So they're going to make it scale with her ultimate, which would mean that it's probably going to start out something like 8 seconds, and then for each level of ultimate she has, it's going to go down by 1 second. So level 16, it'd probably be like a 5-second spear, which is better than it is now, but again, the damage is being decreased, and she'll probably not be as scary, as annoying. But this is most likely to deal with her mid-game sieging power, where like around 11 to 14 she was able to just poke down towers easily, keep people away, and they could just take towers pretty much for free. So it's a big difference. This cooldown scaling with her ultimate leads me to believe that they're going to increase the cooldown on her spear a little bit as well. But on top of that, it applies the hunt debuff, so landing a spear on an opponent allows you to chase them more easily, and allows you to engage them more easily with the Cougar form changes, which I really like. I think that's a cool change, and I think it's going to be a very interesting mechanic that a lot of new Nidalee players are going to like. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but we'll see when it comes out. Bushwhack being a lower cooldown and mana cost, you're going to be able to use that more often, be able to actually use it as a mechanic as opposed to just an afterthought. Right now, Bushwhack is such a long cooldown, it's 17 seconds, or it might be 20 seconds I believe. Again, let's look at Nidalee. Oh goodness. It's 18 seconds, so it's in between my two guesses. So Bushwhack currently has a really long cooldown, and you never really want to use it because it uses up your precious mana that you run out of very quickly early game. So I think they're most likely going to want Bushwhack to be used more as a tactical ability. You're going to be placing it at choke points, catching people out in bushes, and it gives you the hunt debuff, which allows you to engage. So I think Bushwhack will become much more powerful and much more useful in her kit, as opposed to before it was just like, hey, I have mana, I can toss it on the ground and have that as an afterthought. Like currently the way Bushwhack is in 4.7, AP Nidalee would barely miss it. Like the security from the Bushwhack is pretty much all she uses. The damage from it, you get occasional kills from it, but really it's nothing. Primal Surge, it's getting nerfed straight up. Like base healing and ability power. Base healing is probably going to be increased just because they say it's adjusted, it's not both being reduced. Ability power is clearly being reduced, but I'm guessing the base healing is being increased to preserve AD Nidalee and probably make her early game laning a little bit easier. Now here's a big change that I like and I kind of disagree with, because this is going to make Nidalee seem deceptively strong. Nidalee's Cougar form gives her a lot of power, and giving it to her at level 1 gives her a lot of power at level 1. The reason Nidalee struggled in lane is because pre-6, she falls behind no matter what matchup she's in, because there's nothing she can do to escape or engage. She's just kind of sitting there auto-attacking and throwing spears. With Cougar form at level 1 though, you're going to run into a lot of trouble trying to engage on Nidalee, trying to trade Nidalee, because she has that Cougar form for a full combo or a pounce away. Like, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities. Now I like this change as a Nidalee player, because it makes laning a lot easier for you pre-6. As an opponent to Nidalee, I find it's going to be a lot more frustrating, because post-6, Nidalee right now is very scary to lane against because she has that burst potential. But if pre-6 becomes the same, you have Nidalee's Cougar form, I think I'm going to be a little bit more frightened in lane against the Nidalee. So I don't know how I feel about that. It is more in line with the current shapeshifters, where they all have their ultimates at level 6, or at level 1, like Elise and Jace and Karma. The only one I can think of that doesn't is LeBlanc, and that's kind of not really the same. She empowers her abilities, or she repeats her abilities. She doesn't empower them. Karma empowers them and gets new abilities, kind of. Jace gets new abilities, and Elise gets new abilities. That's why I lump them all together. And so I think this is just trying to make it more consistent, so all champions like that have their level 1 ultimate. So it's different. It's a change that I'm kind of wishy-washy on. I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. I'll talk about that later in the future, probably. No longer granting 20 movement speed. Now this is something that's going to be kind of overlooked by a lot of people. This movement speed was huge. Her base movement speed is 355, or 335. With Cougar form, it's 355. That movement speed was huge for chasing people or escaping. I think they've kind of overdone the removal of the escape mechanic, because they've changed her bush passive to 10% and removed the bonus from her Cougar form. So effectively they removed about 40 to 45 movement speed from Nidalee, which is effectively tier 2 boots. So you're going to notice as a Nidalee player she's moving a lot slower when she's trying to escape from people, and in Cougar form you're going to probably be roaming to bot lane 4 or 5 seconds later than you would expect. Getting to blue buff, you might be like an extra second late. Like, you're going to find yourself thinking you're going to get places faster than you really will for the first couple of days. But that's something just to get used to. I don't know why they removed the movement speed on it. It was a cool mechanic, and I really enjoyed it because it gave you an incentive to be in Cougar form or be in human form. But now people are just going to be sitting in human form to be able to place traps everywhere, and unless they catch someone, they're going to go to Cougar form. So before, that was something that a lot of people overlooked, is Cougar form's movement speed was a good incentive to stay in Cougar form, and that Cougar form doesn't give them that incredible burst that gives them the survivability and all that jazz. But now it's like you can stay in human form and constantly trap up and prepare. So I don't know how I feel about that. Again, it's not a big deal. It's a removal, it's a nerf, but it may end up turning playstyles to a different playstyle, and it'll end up changing the way you have to play against Nidalee, but not a huge deal. I'll talk about that in future games when I make full game videos. Cooldown scaling with rank, so it's probably going to be a longer cooldown to switch between the two, but I don't think it's going to be a huge amount. I wouldn't expect it to be like 20 seconds. It'll probably be more like 10 seconds scaling down to 5. I really don't know. We'll find out. Not a big deal. Cougar ability base damages and scaling is adjusted across the board. I'm guessing they might lower swipes base damage, or they might lower pounces base damage and increase their ratios, or they might increase the base damages overall of everything, because they're shifting a lot of the damage from spear to Cougar form. Her human form is no longer going to be her burst. She's not going to be a high burst champion that's a sniper. That's a problem now. Like, a good way to look at it is her human form is going to be setting up kills for her Cougar form. So if you want to be preparing, you're in human form looking for bushwhacks or spears, and then as soon as you land one, you go all in with Cougar form. Whereas in Cougar form, it's like just boom, long range pounce and just swipe takedown and then get out. Like, it's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. I guess it'll take some getting used to, but essentially what's happening is they're changing Nidalee from a sniper playstyle to a hunter playstyle. So Nidalee's going to be much more reliant on her Cougar form, and therefore she's going to be much more risk and reward feeling as opposed to just snipe. So I do agree that she needed to have some more risk to her damage, but I feel like this is too much because she's too squishy. She's going to have to build more AP bruiser than she will have to build straight AP. So she's not going to be a good mid laner as much as I think she'll be a top laner now. So we'll see. But again, that's something else that'll change, and I'll talk about that in the future as well. Takedown being changed to magic damage. I believe I talked about that already. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Pounce. Interesting mechanic. You now will get double range on pounce whenever you have someone with the hunt debuff on them. So if you land a spear or a bushwhack, gonna make it a lot easier to synergize your spears with your Cougar forms. It's gonna be a lot easier to get full burst on people. She's gonna become more of an assassin or a hunter as opposed to a sniper. So I keep saying that, but that's completely true. It's a good way to look at it. So I think overall her Cougar form is gonna be a lot more front-loaded than her spear, and people are going to start complaining about her strength in lane. She's going to become a lane bully, so I'm a little concerned that this is going to get her nerfed, and she's going to hit low win ratios. But as of right now, I'm not too upset about the changes. The only thing that's really lost any power was the spear, and I'm guessing the spear is going to be changed immensely. They're going to lose a lot of damage. Another thing that did lose power was her heal, so I guess that's something else that lost a lot. But we'll see how these work out. I'll talk about them more in the future after I've played some of it, and we'll discuss potential playstyles around it. But as of right now, I'm thinking that Nidalee will be played mostly in the top lane. She'll be more of a bruiser, assassin type player, but she's not going to have the ability to team fight, so that's why I'm seeing her as a top laner. She's going to be a split pusher most likely, looking for objectives occasionally, but really split pushing all game and looking to duel people. Mid lane, she's probably still going to be viable, because her bully power in lane with her Cougar form at level 1 will be strong. But her sieging power is going to be heavily nerfed, and she's not going to be able to take towers. She's not going to be able to team fight as a normal mid laner would, so I think that's going to be a big problem for people. They're going to probably still play her as a mid lane, and they're probably going to lose a lot of games as a result of it. And so I see her win rate going down even further than it is right now. I think it's 48% right now in ranked, and I think it's going to go down quite a bit more, just looking at these changes and what I predict. But those are just premonitions. So anyways, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, or you think I was incorrect on something, or you want to share your own opinion, feel free to leave those down below. Thanks for watching, and have a good day, I guess. I didn't really have anything else to say.